Hey, Megan here, and I was just at the Paradigm Shift. That's an event put on by Bob Proctor, if you're not familiar with who he is. And he is an incredible mentor of mine. I've learned so much from him. And one of the top 3 books that he recommends, first off, is Think and Grow Rich. He also recommends As a Man Thinketh. And the other one is You2. And Price Pritchett is the author of You2. And he was at the event. And as I was out walking around the building about to head in, I ran into him. And of course got a selfie, got to get those. And I also asked him a question. I asked him, what inspired you to write this book? Because if you're a student of Bob Proctor, you've likely read it and studied it several times, and it's an incredible small little book that packs a big punch. And so I asked him that, and he gave us 10 minutes. There was me and a couple of other people there, really breaking down some of the book and also answering our questions. And so I wanted to share that video with you so that you could benefit as well. Enjoy.
Talk about quantum leap. So I said this was 1970, late 1978. So I set the goal for my firm to become number 1 in merger integration strategy.
Nice.
And it was an absurd, outrageous kind of thing. Because first of all, we were just this tiny shop in Dallas. Secondly, there was no such field, consulting practice area, as merger integration. There wasn't, which is strange because companies had done M&A for ages. In fact, we'd just come out of the 60s when there was all this conglomeration and stuff like that. But anyway, so I said, I want to break new ground. I want to become number 1 in the niche we choose. I want to work at the very top of organizations, the very top of the power structure, have system-wide impact, and play in an area where we can have a high billing rate. Okay? So we're going to become number 1 in merger integration strategy. And for no other reason than that, I doubled our billing rate.
You just did it.
I just did it.
You sound like, that's why Bob resonates with you.
And so that was 1979, really, when I said that's where we're headed. By 1985, we were there. I had written the only things written in the world on merger integration strategy. We had defined the rules.
Wow.
And we had a client list going. And it's just kind of like, but so what you talk about maybe an individual doing here with themselves, that's what we've been doing for 40 years with companies. You know,
when did the idea conceive that you're like, I'm going to move from what I'm doing? When did that, do you remember the moment that idea clicked in there?
That's a good question. I don't know that I can. It was more I was bored with what we were doing with the executive assessments, and I wanted something that was more strategic and that was a real challenge and that was virgin territory.
Right.
And
you're going to be a trendsetter.
And so
start a whole new deal.
So the individual evaluations and looking at those differentials in people, same thing with companies. Here's company A and company B. Let's say they're both $500 million companies growing at 6% a year, nice, respectable organic growth.
Right.
But one day, company A says, to hell with this, and they go out and buy company C, and in one fell swoop, they're $1 billion company. Okay? And it's like, what's going on? What's going on? It's decisions. It's a different choice, and it's what are these things? But our specialty at the company is merger integration strategy and large-scale change management. You've got this thing U2 over here. I wrote it in 1989, and it was about you don't have to live your career incrementally like climbing up a ladder. You can go from step 4 to step 8. Astro Teller, who is the director of Google X Labs, you want something that's about his current, about his leading edge things on. One of his quotes I love, he says, it's often easier to make something 10 times better than it is to make it 10% better.
Wow.
And that's kind of
what do you need to do that? I mean, is that easy? As you stated in your book, The Quantum Leap, is that really that easy? Because I come from an engineering background, I'm an engineer, and I know a little bit about quantum physics.
And
And
you start saying a prayer for you.
yeah, so how? I mean, is that easy?
That's the thing. People complicate this so much. So I wrote U2, 37 pages, 35 pages, whatever. People would always ask me, I love this book, it's changed my life. But how do I really do this? And my answer was always, you're making this more complicated. Go back and read the book. Do what the book says. Still, I get these things. So then I wrote a sequel called The Quantum Leap Strategy. You may have seen it. And I even followed the same chapter headings mainly.
Yeah, so it's the same book.
Just articulating the point with a different set of words. And I did put in the Quantum Leap Ritual, which is this mental thing. I added that in the Quantum Leap Strategy. But there are 4 things. It's kind of, what's the minimum effective dose for making a quantum leap, all right? But first of all, you got a clear aiming point.
Let me take video. Yeah, 'cause I gotta.
Go to our website and go to on the toolbar, click on U2, and you'll see our thinking there. But first of all, you got to have a clear aiming point, and it needs to be super high, super challenging. So, and most people don't set it high enough. Okay, you need a clear aiming point, and then start. Getting ready is the graveyard where big dreams go to die. It is. Getting ready. Well, I'm going to do a little research. Well, I'm going to come up with a business plan. Well, I need to think about this. I need to own and own and own and own. You start, because that's the fastest education you can get.
Yeah.
You start moving. Relentless pursuit. That's step 2. Third step is quantum leap ritual, which we talk about in the quantum leap strategy. But it's that visioning, it's that mind management, it's that managing, controlling, disciplining your imagining, and
Which is also perpetual throughout the day, right? Or do you just isolate?
Well, we say you need to make this give it 12 minutes at least once a day, every day, and with the idea that they'll take it to more than 12 minutes.
Right.
But if you can do it 12 minutes, but quantum leap ritual, that visioning, that imagining, that mind management, that's where the gods live. That's where the magic happens. It's damn near supernatural.
Right.
And people won't do it. They won't.
No one give 12 minutes to it.
No. Here's the thing. Jim Rohn, the great Jim Rohn, one of his best lines was, what's easy to do is also easy not to do. And that's what happens.
Yep.
It's too stinking simple. Okay? The 4th thing is track your results. Monitor your results. Track your people.
Your
Don't do that
metrics.
either. You need at least 1 or 2 or 3 key metrics, but keep it simple. Tracking doubles your odds of success.
So how important?
Research proves it.
How important is a system once you get moving? How important is system development as you start to move?
Follow the strategy. The tactics will come.
Yeah. So the system will unfold
To your
as you
point.
move.
That's really
Yeah, that's
answer.
exactly. Yeah.
follow the strategy. 4-punch strategy. It's a minimum effective dose. Minimum effective dose I got from Tim Ferriss, if you've ever read any of his stuff. But it is so the way we've operated since I founded the company. Look at my writings. U2 is 37 pages long. I mean, that's 7 times longer than the Declaration of Independence, and people bitch because I didn't write enough.
Yeah. The one idea changed the world.
I wrote this down. It's 7 times longer than the Bill of Rights. It's 6 times longer than the Declaration of Independence. It's 26 times longer than the 10 Commandments. It's 29 times longer than the Gettysburg Address, and it's 125 times longer than the Lord's Prayer. Those are sacred documents. You think of the effect of them. I gave you 37 pages. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, minimum effective dose. Tim Ferriss, I like that phrase because the minimum effective dose for a quantum leap is pick your aiming point, relentless pursuit, follow the ritual, and track your results. That's strategy. Your tactics, they're going to come, and they're going to vary from one person to the next just because of individual differences and different goals and stuff.
And then the system, as you move, you're going to start developing your own.
We're supposed to be back.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr.
you
Pritchett.
so
Our little mini seminar.
I know we are like soaking it all in.